Help me, please.
Mm-hmm.
I need to get out of this. I know I can overcome this. I don't understand why I'm not understanding your word. Help me,
Mm-hmm.
please.
Okay.
I need help.
Receiving an autoimmune disease diagnosis is frightening, overwhelming, and life-changing. LaTonya Bias, PhD, experienced these emotions when she was first diagnosed with lupus over 20 years ago. Although lupus chose her, she has learned to adapt to lupus while living her life to the fullest. The Lupus It Chose Me podcast offers inspiration, information, motivation, and encouragement for lupus sufferers to take back their life. Mrs. Bias will share lessons she has learned over the many years she has lived with lupus. A variety of professionals will join LaTonya to discuss what the disease is, what it causes, who it affects, the symptoms, life stories, and most importantly, ways for you to love your life with lupus. Join LaTonya as she guides you on your journey through life with autoimmune disease.
Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for being with us. This is another episode of the Lupus It Chose Me podcast. I am honored once again to be your co-host today, along with Dr. LaTonya Bias and our special guest, Nacole Tate. Hey, girls.
Hey,
How are
Nikki.
you?
Go, Nikki. Hey.
Yay. Well, I'm so excited to be here as always. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. I'm super excited to talk today about a subject that I know, Dr. Bias, is near and dear to your heart, which is your faith. Last time we talked, we were talking about support systems. And in that episode, you were talking about your faith and how much it has helped you through your journey over the years. In today's segment, God, Please Help Me, we are going to tap on the Kubler-Ross model of stages of grief, the 5 stages of grief, because after talking to you and a lot of people, we realized that grief is not just in one stage. You're depressed and you're over it. It comes in many different forms and faces. And so we're just going to dive in and talk a little bit about that today. Nacole, I'm happy that you're here with us to explore this subject matter. So let's just get into it. We're going to start on page 41 in your book. And you write in your book, the reason I'm writing this book is because there are very few people in this world who share their journey about lupus. When I found out I had lupus, the first thing I did was search the internet to see how long I was going to live. Tell me a little bit about that search, that internet search, and what you found.
So I don't know. I think I first chose God, Please Help Me because I was devastated and I could not find the answers that I was looking for. So searching the internet was the first thing to come by after seeing doctors. So it's like, okay, the doctors was like, oh, this is an autoimmune disease. You know, you would need to do this, take this medicine, and and you have to watch the fluorescent lights and eat this and work out. And, so it was the regular routine of a doctor's visit, and it was consistent. And I just wasn't getting fed enough information. It just didn't help my soul. And I could not see why they wasn't giving me what I needed. So I decided to search the internet, and it's like, okay, they got to have something. So I'm looking and they got to have something. And I was running across everybody who died. It was all about people passing away and oh, they lived to so many years. And so now, oh my gosh, depression. What am I going to do? I'm not going to make it, Lord. I'm going to die. I'm going to die in my sleep. And it was just like, oh, okay, so I got to do my will. I love you. And when I die, God, please help me. That's where I end up, like, just help me. Because I could not get what I was looking for. It was devastating.
Okay. So you go on to say, as I attached to attached God to my journey, I went through a grieving period. You state 1 in every 1,000 people may go through the grieving process. You note that there are 5 stages in your book, and some people will not go through all of them. But in your case, you did go through all 5 stages. Is that right?
That's right. And they may not go in the same order that I went. Having
Okay.
being depressed or having anxiety, or it varies with different people. And for me, in the book, those steps went directly the way mine went. But I've spoken with many people, and they were ready to just accept it. They was all the way in the acceptance phase, and didn't even and skipped right over denial and anger.
Okay.
Whereas for me, it was like, no, I don't have this. There's no way. There's no way. I'm not sick. I'm going to keep doing what I normally do every day. I'm not going to just wake up and can't do anything. So I tried to continue my life in my denial stage.
So you were, it sounds like you were like textbook perfect in terms of following each of the 5 stages of the model. That's what it sounds like. You hit them all.
I hit
Some
'em all.
people skip over them, but you hit
And they
every.
were sporadic. It wasn't just like for my denial stage, I was in it for 3 years. It wasn't like, 2 months and then I jumped into the next one. No, I was in denial for 3 years.
So that's perfect. Let's talk about that. That's a perfect segue. So on page 42, when you talk about denial in your book, you say, it started with not believing that I was sick. I did not tell anyone until I knew what to tell them. Talk a little bit about that. How did you know when and what to say?
So after I would tell everybody what I had, and then talk about death, I would hear the responses from my family. I don't want to hear that, right, Nacole? Don't talk about death. I don't want to hear it. No, don't. You're not getting ready to die. Stop saying that, right? So I come to the realization that, okay, so now I need to find another way to be able to process this and have my family process it.
Okay. So Nacole,
Yes.
I want to bring you in. And I don't know if you remember, it was a little while ago, but when she was going through this stage of denial and saying those kinds of things, how did it make you feel? And were you in denial too? Denial with her as her sister?
I will say that when she was in denial, it wasn't that, I believe that it wasn't that the entire family was in denial. I think that she was in denial, but we had to kind of convince her that it was a real thing, because she would overexert herself sometimes. So in doing so, it's like we would get mad, like, well, you can't do this, you can't do that. So, why are you doing it? But as she said, she wanted to, live life as, hey, I'm just going to keep doing what I was doing prior. I'm not going to let this stop me. And it kind of put her in some, took her to a different stage at one point where she had to kind of see the reality of things and how it may have, affected the people around her. When you're like, wait, what are you getting mad at me for? I'm just, no, we want you to move just a little more
Slower.
cautious right now.
So, Tanya, you also write, to that point of overexertion that Nacole just talked about, you wrote, I was advised that this stage could be detrimental, as I could pretend the illness does not exist and therefore would not finally seek the medical treatment I needed. So at what point did you recognize that, okay, I can't keep denying this, I need to seek medical treatment?
It was years. I ended up in my acceptance phase before. say, okay, I need to seek medical treatment, or because in the denial phase, I didn't. I skipped doctor appointments. I didn't want to open up the curtains, in the house. And a lot of people who have an autoimmune disease understands what I'm saying. But for those who don't, it is, when I say detrimental, you could actually you can just lose your life just through depression and stress. And a lot of people do. And at that point, in some cases, I felt that way. I didn't want to open up my curtains, as I mentioned, in my house. I didn't want to get out of bed. I was in so much pain. And it was like today, I have this huge migraine headache. But over the years, understanding, learning my body and doing the right things, which we could talk about later, I know that I can overcome it. But during my denial stage, it was like, I don't care who come over here. I don't care who call. I'm not budging. It was seriously denial. The fact that when I needed to seek help, I just couldn't. I didn't want it. It was no. Bye, Felicia. I don't want it. Nope.
So your sister mentioned how, you would overexert yourself and pretty much just kind of go on with life as normal. You tell a story on page 42 about, you have a couple of stories about a trip to Chicago that you and Nacole took together.
Oh, yeah.
And, talk about that.
I don't even think she realized this, but it'll trigger your brain. So we were in Chicago and we were headed to a picnic. You remember that? Do you remember that? So we got to the picnic. I wasn't there 10 minutes. All of a sudden, I started panicking. I'm wondering if people can see these blotches all over my face because I have this butterfly effect. All of a sudden, I'm stressing. I was having symptoms as if I was pregnant.
Okay.
Wasn't pregnant, but all of a sudden fatigue and nauseated. The heat was beaming, everybody having a good time. The smell of the food from the different barbecues was like, oh my gosh. People looking at me, hey, how you doing? And I'm like, no, it was just, and then I told my sister, hey, you got to take me home. And she was like, for what? Why? I need to go. I don't feel good. So then she had to leave the picnic, drive, you remember, and had to drive me back, I think, to her apartment or her hotel, whatever, and then come all the way back to the event in order to enjoy herself. And that was one that I realized that I was going through it. I was really, really going through it. But I didn't want to walk around a picnic, when somebody said, well, hey, what's wrong with you? Oh, I got lupus. Yeah, right. Don't worry about me. I'm sick. I'm okay.
Right.
Yeah, I just got lupus. I didn't want to do that. And then not knowing much myself at the time, how could I explain, Right. So I had to walk around with this fake smile on my face, knowing I was getting sicker and sicker and sicker, and had to go lay down. And that was the only option to help me. And I still have those to this day where my body shuts down, but it's a different phase. It wasn't a part, it didn't affect me mentally. Now it affects me just physically. But back in denial phase, it affected me both ways. So I had attitudes, the whole 9 yards.
So Nacole, I'm just really curious, and I know you're going to be real. How did you feel when she said, you need to take me home? I need to go. How did you feel?
So I think at that stage, I wasn't really as knowledgeable about the fact that she had lupus. So I thought she was being a prima donna. I really thought that she, she's.
I don't want to be around that crowd.
Right. I was just getting ready to say she probably told somebody like, "Oh no, I don't deal with them. I don't deal with them. Take me home. I'm ready to go now." So I thought she was being a prima donna. I didn't know, how she felt in that moment physically, Or, how you can get to some places and you may feel out of place, or you may feel like, I thought I was feeling this. The sound of it sounds good, but now that I'm here, it's not really where I want to be or what I wanted to do.
The smells.
So I was just like, okay, I gotta go, y'all. I'll be back. Yeah. So, I just needed to understand and, take her home. Of course, I was like, really? We just got here.
We just got here.
It's like my sister's messing up my vibe.
Yes, it was, because I got there. I think we walked the park just a little bit. And I was like, where you at? Because she was like, I'll be back. And Nikki is popular. She's well known, and especially in Hyde Park. We grew up with everybody at the park. And
Right.
I was like, hi. And then I went, y'all see Nikki? You see Nikki? Hey, I need to go. And she was like, okay. All righty. Let's make like a banana and split.
And then later it was like, well, where's your sister? I know, we just saw her. So-and-so wanted to see her. She's gone. Oh, that was quick.
That's so funny. So we're going to move into the second stage of anger. We're going to talk about that a little bit before we go to break, if that's okay with you, Tonya.
Yes, but let me tell you another scenario too.
Oh, okay.
It was my wedding anniversary, you all. And I went to San Antonio. And when I went to San Antonio, it was my first time on the Riverwalk. So I was, like you said, I was excited. It sounds good. I was ready to roll. We driving. I'm getting sick on the way, but I'm fighting it, right? I could do this. It's just from Texas to from Dallas to San Antonio, maybe 3 hours?
3 to 4 hours.
Few hours drive.
No problem. This is a breeze. I can ace this. I drive to Chicago, right?
Yeah.
I get there. I'm nauseated. Okay, well, let's just check in. Beautiful hotel. He was like, okay, so you ready? You want to go? I said, let the sun go down just for a little bit before we go and get on the Riverwalk. So I'm thinking if my body just kind of wind down a little bit, well, whatever is going on in there while it's fighting itself, let me just, let's just wind down. Okay, so we get settled, unpack, and I lay down. Before you know it, it's like 7:00. We got there like noon. My husband didn't say anything. He let me rest because my body needed that. So I woke up and I was like, let's do this. And he was like, okay, all right, let's go. I want to get some dinner. So we go to the Riverwalk, and it's so beautiful. I'm going to try to make this quick. We get on to get ready to pay to get on the boat so we can, ride down the Riverwalk. Walk past my sister's favorite place, Haagen-Dazs. I was like, my sister would love this. And all of a sudden, boom, fatigue. And my husband's like, you okay? I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm fine. Come on, let's keep going. Get to the boat, stand there, boom. I was like weak, couldn't move. And he was like, are you okay? I'm like, no, I think we need to go. Paid for the tickets, everything. Took a picture, And just when it was time to get on the boat, instantly, fatigue kicked in so bad that I was nauseated. I couldn't walk. I couldn't. He literally had to carry me back to.
Oh my gosh!
Yes, to the hotel, and he was like, "We're not doing this." So I never got a chance to get on that boat and go down that Riverwalk. I mean, down the water of the Riverwalk because my lupus had me in an awe. And when I say it was ah. Help me, God. Help me.
God, please help me.
Please help me. So I just thought I'd tell y'all that story for those who know about fatigue and how it will snatch you up. Just snatch you up.
Snatch you up. So you say, at any rate, I continued down the same path of denial. My life was right where I wanted it. So I'm assuming this is sort of 3 years in. You said, I have an advanced degree. I plan to excel by opening my own business. I'm a mother with a lot on my plate. Like many others, I was accustomed to not putting my needs near the top of the list. Other things were far more important, or at least that is what I thought. And it worked for me for a while. Tell me about that. And how did that sort of take you to the next stage of anger? Because you share this full life that you were leading, and apparently there were some things that kind of made you come to the realization that, okay, this is real, and this full life that I'm leading, I'm going to have to pull it back a little bit. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so this one's anger, and this is a very, very touchy subject, because I had to eat the negativity that I thought at the time, because I was angry of what my family would tell me. And some of the things that they would say is like, oh, you're so snippy. Why what's wrong with you? Why do you, have this attitude, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I never knew I had it. And I would always say, you had it. You had it. I don't know what you talking about. I didn't have it. But I think what I was going through is I was talking to God saying that this wasn't fair. This is not fair. Why me? And so my anger then started to build. I hated the community, the medical industry, but and interns, because they couldn't give me what I needed. My family just seemed like they didn't understand. My friends was like, girl, you can't go hang out. And it's like, no, I can't go hang out. And they didn't understand. So anger started to build. To be angry was the worst thing anyone with an autoimmune disease can have, because it triggers so many different things in your body, mentally, to the point where you stay in pain. If I'm walking around with this frown, it's manifesting all kind of things. Something's wrong. She's hurting. And so now my body is trying to fix whatever it is. Mentally, if you upset about something, your body has to fix it, and anger was the wrong stage to be in when you were having severe pain, fatigue, and other issues when it comes to an autoimmune disease. So
Well, anger creates stress, right? Anger creates stress. So when you're
yes.
stressed, that's certainly not helping your immune system heal and do what it's supposed to do.
No, yeah, it was, yes, it does. It definitely, and stress, and I don't know if most people know, if they read my book, it can kill. It caused me to have a stroke at some point in time in my life. But I would question, as well as the title, God, why me? That was my anger phase. Why me? All my girlfriends can get up and go and do what they need to do. When my baby want to go to the park and it's 100 degrees outside, I can't take her to the park. Not right now. So I just felt like I was missing out on a lot with life, with family, the community, because I was too angry. I was very, very angry.
So Nacole, tell me about what you witnessed, because you guys were close and you spent a lot of time together. So when she was in this stage and she talked a little bit about, family members saying, well, what's wrong with you? And she would, flip the script and say, it's not me, it's you, which is a very common thing sometimes for people to do, is transfer what they're feeling onto the other person to make it seem like they've got the issue. It's not me, it's you. So tell me about that time, and maybe a story that you remember when she was in this anger phase.
Pissed off
I will say that it was more so, well, you don't know how I feel. You don't have to go through this. I'm telling you, I don't feel good, because we didn't understand, well, let's go to the store, let's go do this. And we didn't really understand the pain that she was going through. So just as, sometimes you say when people are older and they are ill and you don't know, really, they're like, oh, well, so-and-so is getting really mean. And a lot of times they're like, well, if they're getting mean, it could be pain or it could be an illness. But yeah, it was more like, well, you don't know how I'm feeling, or, we don't know if I'm going to wake up tomorrow. So it was just like, okay, and we're saying, well, you can get up tomorrow, we have, faith that you're gonna be here, it's a mindset. It's a state of mind at some point.
Yeah.
Whereas we're seeing that you're following what it is that you should do, that we assume is going to make you better, because we're changing the diet. We're putting notes on the refrigerator as to what not to feed her or cook for her. We're understanding, okay, well, feed her some pineapples. It's going to take down the swelling, and, it's going to make her feel better. So at that point, with her saying that, it kind of hurts, because it gives you a reality check too. Like, she probably knows more about what she's going through than us. So
I think more so too, looking back, it was probably not a way to explain. Being angry, there was no way to just express how you feel, because it's so much going on that you can't say, I just have a migraine, when your toe is going woo, woo, woo,
Yeah.
So if I go, oh, my toe hurt, girl, get up, move your toe and keep it moving, but not understanding that pain through your thighs, up your butt, to the left side of your body, up to your head, your ear.
Yeah, it's like a whole vibration kind of thing going on.
Absolutely.
That's just happening through you. And you're sitting there like normal, but you're experiencing this like vibration of pain, and people are just looking at you as if, well, she looks fine, and you're saying, but I'm not okay. So same thing, Nacole, like you, as you likened it to people who are old, you see them sitting there, but they're saying, I'm not okay. They look fine, but they don't feel fine.
Yeah.
I want to talk about, just really quickly before we go to break, in this anger phase, you said something that I thought was really interesting. You said, as for me, it seemed almost to be a needed stage in my healing process, because it allows me to discover the depths of my feelings and to get them out in the open. Tell me a little bit about that healing process, and how anger was at the same time healing for you.
So it took me to realize, just by hearing other comments, and I've learned over the years that if more than one person tell you the same thing, you probably want to look at yourself and see what is it that it could be you. Look in the mirror. And so I realized that I had to cope with the situation. And by coping was to try to get myself out of that phase of anger. I didn't know it was anger at the time, but I knew I needed to get out of that phase. So I found myself, when it was things that I didn't like, when I took showers, I would cry. That was my way of releasing whatever it is that day. Do it in the shower. Just do it in the shower. Or finding myself, when it was time to pray, begging, just, Lord, please help me accept the things that I cannot change. That great serenity prayer. I had to like cling to it, even though, and I'm going to tell you this, and I remember clear as day, you guys, and I know we have to go to commercial break, but when I opened up the Bible, y'all, to read, the words look like Arab, literally. So I couldn't get the understanding, because the anger was so overwhelming. Man, it was like, I need help. Help me.
Wait, so help me understand, when you say the words look like Arab, what does that mean?
They didn't have A, B. They look like a whole nother foreign language, because I couldn't mentally grasp it. So when it's time to read in 1903, it didn't look like 1903 to me, because my mind was I was so full of anger and stress and trying to deal with it all, that trying to read something. I use the Bible as one, but it could be anything. You know, if somebody said, what's that right there? And I'll go, and I'll get the first letter and the last letter, and that's it. You know, it was and so my mind was, it just couldn't do it. I was just, that's where I was. And it got to me, well, now I need to bargain with Lord. Help me, please. I need to get out of this. I know I can overcome this. I don't understand why I'm not understanding your word. Help me, please. I need help.
We're going to put a period right there, or actually a comma, because we're going to come back right after this break.
Hey guys, what's up? Are you ready to train your body from the inside out through progress, not perfection? Center by JH Method is a full body progressive workout system created by Jordan Hill that has been uniquely designed to help you with mobility and strength while helping you achieve a toned and lean physique. This progressive workout system was uniquely designed by a professional dancer and model. She has incorporated core stability, lengthening and strengthening sequences, and low to high intensity fat blasting interval training. Whether you're 16 or 60, come discover the magic in your body with how it moves through functional movement through a core-centered tempo-based workout. Follow us on Instagram at CenterByJH. You can stream us online coming soon, and get ready to get centered and join the fam.
Living with lupus doesn't define who I am.
Living with lupus doesn't stop who you can be.
Living with lupus doesn't keep me from following my dreams.
I choose to.
I choose to.
To love life.
Lupus is a systemic autoimmune disease that occurs when your body's immune system attacks your tissues and organs. It is estimated that at least 1.5 million Americans have lupus. Diagnosing lupus can be challenging. And according to blackdoctor.org, lupus is one of the top diseases misdiagnosed in African Americans.
Help us find a cure for this mystical disease.
It doesn't affect just one of us.
It affects us all.
To learn more about this horrible disease, please go to lovelifeLupusFoundation.org and help us find a cure by making a donation.
Welcome back, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. We're going to finish our discussion regarding the 5 stages of grieving. And so before we went to break, we were talking about bargaining, or you mentioned bargaining. So I'm assuming you were trying to cut a deal with God in this phase. And I'm going to read something that you wrote from your book. You know, a lot of people do that. We all try to make deals, cut deals with God. So you say on page 44 now in your book, just as I followed with bargaining after this anger stage, you say, I followed with bargaining, just as the name implies. This is when I found myself attempting to strike a deal with God, a higher power, or even the doctors who were committed to my care. You said, after dealing with anger and foolish thoughts, bargaining was my attempt at rationalizing the situation and regaining control. Tell me about that. What did that mean exactly?
So the words, my famous words, if only, or what if, God, only if I ate right. Okay, if I eat this burger, will I wake up in the morning, Don't take me now, Lord. Please don't take me now. I literally would be in my car and praying, and don't let me have a car accident, Father, because my hand's hurting right now. Allow my foot to stay on this pedal. That was my bargaining back and forth with now trying to accept, well, not accept, but go through the phases of what I was going through. So I've even say, I want to live, Father, to see my children have children. He did, because that happened, right? So
Amen.
It was, and again, yeah, but it was, those were my bargaining tactics every morning. Thank you, Father, for waking me up. I still do that today. That's not bargaining, though. It's just being grateful, my gratitude to him. But back then, it was bargaining. Oh, Lord, thank you. It was deep. It was
So
deep.
did you have any, you hear people say, if you just let me do this or feel this or live this long, then I promise I'll do X, Y, and Z. Did you have
Yeah.
any moments like that?
Oh yes. I promise I'll do right. That was my I'ma do right. I don't know what right was, but I'ma do right.
But whatever that was, I'm going to do it. Whatever
I'ma
doing
do
right
it.
is, I'm going to do that. Just let me live.
Yes, please.
She would
Yeah.
bargain with us as well.
I would. What I
Oh,
do?
really?
Yes, because she wasn't supposed to have Pepsi or pop, and she would bargain with us about that as well.
If I drink this Coke today,
Right.
If I drink this Coke, God, today, please
Right.
let me live tomorrow, and I
drink
promise
this.
I won't
Yes.
drink
I'll be
another
able
one.
just a half.
Then we'll be able to go. I'll be able to do such and such. And
I have
then
a little
later
bit of
on,
energy.
I'll rest. Or
I
she would
did.
bargain with us too.
And my favorite candy bars, knowing I knew
Turtles.
that turtles,
Oh,
chocolate
God.
would just take me over the top. But I had to have my turtles, and I'd be like, okay, just one, okay, maybe two. Yep, bargaining from food to life to family. That was major
So-
for me.
So one of the Bible verses that you reference in your book is casting all your anxieties on him because he cares for you. 1 Peter 1:5-7. What does that mean to you? What did that mean to you then in terms of casting your anxieties? And then what does it mean to you now?
So then when I wrote it, it was not putting all the concerns that I had or my issues on me. I was overwhelming myself with all the concerns that I had. Like, it taught me to understand that you need to pay attention to your body. You don't need to bargain. Just pay attention to your body. Start making better decisions. So with that, it taught me to, Lord, I'm just going to turn this over to you. You know I'm about to eat this Snicker. You know I'm about to eat this burger and fries. This is the quickest, convenient way of doing it. It's not right, I know. So now I'm just going to turn it over to you. It's at your will. Let it be done, and that's it. I realize that now the decisions, instead of just begging all the time, just say,
Yeah, my life is in your hands.
my life is in your hands. I'm done. It's yours.
My life is in your hands, and I'm casting all my
All of them.
cares on you.
Everything.
Because it's
At
too
the
much.
point
for me.
anybody says something, Lord. It's Lord.
So the next stage that you talk about in your book is depression. And you say on page 45, during counseling, your counselor, advised me I was in the depression stage. Although the stage of bargaining was my motivation to continue counseling, the depressive stage paused that motivation in its tracks.
Oh yeah, it did. So y'all heard me explain that. I was telling Lord, it's yours. You take care of it, right? I'm turning it over to you. So by doing that, it then also isolated me. It put me in a place where I wanted to be alone. I was withdrawn. I didn't, despite I could have did those at the time. I could have did something. I could have went somewhere. Now, no. I decided this counselor is opening up things that I don't want to see, that I don't even want to talk about, and how my past growing up has to do with it. So it was just a whole lot. And it was like, really? Nope, I'm going to stay to myself. So in doing that, she noticed, oh, well, what do you do today? Nothing. Oh, well, you didn't get out? Nope. Did you go to the store? Didn't feel like it. One ended, one question, one just simple word. And so she then realized I was leading myself into depression. And so now it was trying to get me out of depression, because now I was getting sicker, and then anxiety. And then I kicked in the words of worry. I worried about everything, how my makeup looked, my bills, everything. Worry just became my best friend.
Mm-hmm. Nacole, tell me if you remember her movement from each of these stages that we're talking about, and whether or not you remember a time that she was depressed.
I believe that we, as a family, didn't see the transition as that as well, because I will say at one point, I think we mentioned, you're just using that as a crutch.
Yeah.
You're using your illness or whatever as a crutch. You can do this, you can do that, but when it comes up, you say, "Oh, well, I don't want to do it because," and it in a depressive state, of course, it will have you on your butt, basically. And as she said, isolating herself. So I think that, the denouncing of doing certain things and saying she was doing it because of lupus or whatever, that gave her an excuse to stay in that depressive mode. So I'm just glad that that
A
was,
leaf has
that
been turned over.
we overcame that. And I will say, if or when anything has been made, as I look at it after saying this statement, to say, "Oh no, you're just using that," to me probably didn't help, because that would make you go into more of a depressive state, because now they don't believe me. They think that I'm, calling crying wolf.
Yep.
And now I really have to do this alone, because, nobody is believing me or taking me
nailed it.
serious.
You
So
nailed it.
I think that I have seen those closed curtain days, because usually she would have it open. She would want to see the yard. She would want to see the grass. She would want to see if the dog was out there playing, if the sprinklers came on. And I do recall a time it's like, don't open those. No, don't open it. So, and didn't think of it as depression, just thought of it as following, okay, well, she don't want them open. Like you're kind of catering to her needs, when really we were catering to that state of depression.
My phases, absolutely.
Right. You were sort of helping her stay in that state of depression,
Unbeknownst to
instead
us,
of
yes.
recognizing that what she was saying was real, even though it didn't seem real, because she looked fine, right? That's
definitely.
That seems to be something that's very common in people who have lupus. And one of the things that they talk about often is how on the outside I look like I'm doing okay, but on the inside I'm not. And it's just so hard for people to see and understand. It's an invisible disease of sorts, right? Unlike other diseases or disabilities, it's not like a disability that you can see. It's a disease that's invisible, that nobody can really see. So thanks for sharing that.
And can I share one more thing? As a family, it really made us have to pay more attention to her body language, tone, and a lot of things, because now I can kind of look and say, and ask that question instead of just giving the assumption, "Are you okay? How are you feeling? Does your head hurt?" So now I can kind of look at her and tell that, even if she says, "Oh no, I'm good," no, I can tell
that you're not good.
Yeah, it's an eye opener over the years, for sure.
So Tanya, you said that this is it's important for people to know that these feelings are normal.
Yes.
Being depressed is normal. Talk a little bit about it just being normal, as because you've kind of come through it now. So what? So being open and honest about your feelings of being depressed and having depression and anxiety. What would you say to people who may be in that stage right now?
So for those who are in that stage or any of those stages, and again, they can come random. Some people can just go through the acceptance, could be just anger, start out angry, very angry. I found after counseling and still lots and lots of counseling and helping the family understand, is acceptance. You know, you don't define who you are by the words lupus. You don't define who you are because you're in pain. I've learned that my issue is not your issue. So I have to accept what I have. And until you can accept it, nobody else will be able to accept it. And I'm literally, when I say that, because it will be hard for, and I'll speak for myself, I find that it's extremely hard for you to express or tell or define what you're going through. And if you can't understand what I'm going through, then you can't accept it, right?
Right.
So I had to learn to accept what I deal with every day or my choices that I make, because I know what's going to happen if I do those things. So, for example, at a game yesterday, there's stairs we was at the bottom of the event. My grandbaby had to use the bathroom a few times. I had to make a decision. Do I keep walking up and down stairs, taking her to the bathroom, or just ask somebody else to do it? Because if not, I'm going to reap the benefits later. So I have
Or the repercussions later.
Yes, the repercussions, absolutely. So I had to turn and say, "Hey, can you do that? Because I can't do it."
Yeah.
You know, and if my family didn't understand or even accept what I'm going through, then they would be like, "Why you can't do it? You
Exactly.
go up there and take her. That's your grandbaby, right?"
Exactly.
So it's a matter of, accepting. Ladies, gents, I promise you, if you can just accept that you dealing with it and be able to express it and understand it, you will overcome it. You will overcome
Well,
it.
let me read something that you wrote in your book that I think would be helpful. You talk about, as you completed my time with the counselor, I was in the acceptance stage. This stage was the crucial goal, yet I believe it's greatly misinterpreted. Accepting lupus does not mean that I was suddenly okay with being sick. I do not think I will ever get to the point of thinking it is all right to carry this disease with no cure. However, I can acknowledge the reality of my illness and come to terms with myself to set goals on bringing awareness before I die.
That's right.
So
That's my goal. That's my goal. I was placed on this earth for a reason. And my reason is to spread awareness, to show people that you can love life with lupus. You can love life with an autoimmune disease. Just because you have that does not define you. You can define yourself by spreading love, expressing how you feel about what things that you have been through and how you overcome them. Love is life. Love is not lupus.
Oh, I love that. So I'm going to end with this. This is what you say. You say, going through the stages provided me a renewed spirit and a willingness to battle to the end.
To the end.
And so
Pew, pew, pew.
I want to say how grateful I am that you have this renewed spirit and that you are going to battle and fight this disease to the end. Thank you so much for what you're doing, for using your life to be a light to other people. I'm grateful and honored that you have allowed me to be on this journey with you, but particularly sharing this podcast with you, that you allow me to come and talk to you, help you raise awareness regarding this disease. But most importantly, I'm grateful for the enthusiasm that you bring to to each and every conversation. I'm grateful that you have decided to battle to the end and not just lay down and die, because you can learn to love your life with lupus or any disease. And you, my dear, are absolutely positively proof positive that you can have a great, successful life, even with autoimmune disease. So I'm going to give you a round of applause. Thank you.
Yes,
Thank
being
you.
open to issues and not signing your death certificate is the key. It's definitely the key. And I love listening to mindset things to help keep me intact. I have to. The subconscious, the power of the subconscious mind was one I just recently read. It's great. you know.
Okay.
But for those who need to have that mindset, check it out. Not trying to advertise and promote that book, but it's good. But also our fans who are watching and viewing, please like, please share, subscribe, ring the bell, spread the word for us. We need the world to know that you can love life. You really can.
And if you haven't purchased this book, I strongly recommend that you pick it up. We talked just briefly about some of the things that Dr. Bias has experienced in her journey with lupus, but there's so much more that you will not want to miss. So if you haven't bought this book yet, pick it up. It's available on Amazon and any place
Barnes
else
and
that you
Noble,
purchase
yes,
book.
Westbow Press. Just check it, type it in, Google it.
Google it.
So I just had an idea as well that not only purchase the book for yourself, for your knowledge about lupus, especially if you have a family member or something that can kind of help you get through the process with them, or a friend, but also gift this book to somebody that you know that may have it or that may need it. That's right. Because, you never know, this could save them and they could be going through one of those stages and come out on top like
That's
Dr.
right.
Bias.
Let's do this.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks again for joining us for Lupus It Chose Me podcast. And we will close out by saying TTYL.
TTYL.
We'll talk to you later.
You've been listening to the Lupus It Chose Me podcast with LaTonya Bias. LaTonya is a native of Chicago, author, and philanthropist. She has a PhD in business and is the founder and CEO of the Love Life Lupus Foundation. Although she battles lupus every day, LaTonya is committed to creating awareness, sharing knowledge, and funding a cure for this disease. Married for more than 20 years, she has 3 children and 3 grandchildren who light up her life. Until next time, LaTonya wants you to remember you can learn to love your life with lupus. You can learn more about LaTonya and her work by visiting the foundation website at lovelifelupusfoundation.org. Her book, Lupus It Chose Me, is available at amazon.com. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook. Subscribe, share, and listen on Apple Podcasts or wherever you like to stream.
The opinions of the guest are their own and do not represent the opinions of the Lupus It Chose Me podcast. The podcast content is informational only and is not intended to treat, diagnose, or cure. You should consult with your doctor or medical professional before you make any decisions that could adversely affect your health.